My name is Margaret Ellis, and this is the story of how my life changed the day my daughter left her 3 sons on my porch and never came back. If you had asked me 2 decades ago what I feared most, I would have said losing my family. I never knew that losing a family does not always happen through tragedy. Sometimes, it happens through silence, absence, and the slow unraveling of hope. Before I take you through the years that shaped me into the guardian I became, I want to ask you something. What would you do if your child walked away from her responsibilities, and you were left to pick up the pieces she abandoned? What would you do if she returned only to accuse you of stealing the very children you saved? If stories of love, loss, and the quiet strength of ordinary people speak to your heart, please consider leaving a comment and subscribing. Your voice and presence matter here more than you know. Now, let me take you back to the day everything began. It was an autumn afternoon, the kind where the wind moves through the trees with a sound almost like a warning. Leaves spiraled across my front yard, and the air held a faint smell of cold rain, though the clouds had not yet opened. I was washing dishes when I heard a car door slam outside. I dried my hands and walked to the porch, confused. There she was. My daughter, Laura. Her hair was messy, her eyes hollow, her shoulders stiff with a strange mixture of tension and exhaustion. Standing beside her were her 3 little boys. My grandsons. Adam, 6 years old at the time, held Noah's hand protectively. Noah was just 4, with wide, gentle eyes and a soft way of watching the world. In Laura's arms was baby Jacob, still round-faced and clinging to her shirt. "Mom," she said quickly, brushing past me into the house without a hug or greeting, "I need you to take them. Just for a few weeks." Something in her voice felt wrong. Too hurried. Too fragile. She placed their small backpacks on my sofa, kissed each boy lightly, almost mechanically, then reached for the doorknob. "Laura," I whispered, "where are you going? What is happening?" She avoided my eyes. "I need time. I need to fix my life. I cannot do this right now. Please, Mom. I will come back soon." Her voice cracked on the word soon. I touched her arm, but she pulled away before I could offer comfort. "This is the best thing for them," she said, though she did not sound sure of it. "I swear I will be back." I wanted to believe her. A mother wants to believe her child, even when the truth trembles beneath every word. I watched as she walked down the porch steps, climbed into her car, and backed out of the driveway without even glancing in the rearview mirror at her 3 sons. The boys watched her leave with confused, frightened eyes. Baby Jacob began crying first. Noah followed softly. And Adam, sweet, responsible Adam, tried to hold back his tears, but finally broke. I wrapped all 3 of them into my arms, feeling the weight of their tiny bodies trembling against me as the wind grew colder. If I had known she would not return for 15 years, I would have held them even tighter. The first few days felt temporary, like babysitting. Their small backpacks sat untouched in the corner of the living room, as if Laura might burst through the door at any moment to take them home. They asked about her constantly. "Is Mommy coming back today? What time will she be here? Did she call? Did she forget where we live?" Every morning I said, "Maybe today." Every evening, I swallowed my own worry and said, "Maybe tomorrow." But tomorrow never came. By the 2nd week, Adam stopped asking out loud. He hid his fear behind responsibility, helping Noah tie his shoes and comforting Jacob when he cried at night. Noah became more withdrawn, often staring out the window with silent hope. And Jacob, still a baby, clung to me with a desperate need for closeness. I was in my late 50s then. I had already imagined a quiet retirement, afternoons tending to my garden, evenings reading on my porch. Instead, I found myself buying diapers, washing tiny socks, scheduling doctor visits, and relearning the exhausting rhythm of caring for young children. But love has a way of reshaping your life before you even realize what is happening. Their soft voices, their small hands clutching mine, their laughter echoing through my home. All of it breathed life into rooms that had grown silent over the years. And slowly, what began as temporary became permanent. The months became years. Raising the boys was both beautiful and heartbreaking. Each child carried his own shadow of abandonment. Adam, even as a child, tried to protect everyone. If one of the younger boys cried, he rushed to comfort them. But he never comforted himself. He believed he had to be strong so the others could fall apart. Noah was gentle, empathetic, easily hurt. When he was 6, he brought home a Mother's Day card from school. He set it quietly beside my plate during dinner. "I did not know who to give it to," he said softly. "So, I picked you." Something inside me broke open and healed all at once. Jacob was too young to remember his mother at all. As he grew older, he simply accepted me as the central figure in his life. One night when he was 5, he climbed into my lap and said, "I love you, Mama Margaret." My heart melted. But raising them also meant facing memories they did not know how to process. There were nights Adam woke up screaming, afraid Laura had taken Noah in his sleep. There were days Noah refused to eat because he felt sick in his heart. Jacob cried when I left the room, terrified I would disappear just as his mother did. I held them through every breakdown, whispered comfort into their hair, and made promises I prayed I could keep. "I am here. You are safe. I will not leave you." A grandmother is supposed to be the soft place a child falls. I had to become the wall that held them up. Through birthdays, holidays, scraped knees, school plays, heartbreaks, camping trips, and quiet bedtime stories, Laura never called. Never wrote. Never asked about them. I tried to find her in the early years. Hospitals. Shelters. Old friends. Online records. She had vanished from every traceable corner of the world. At night, when the boys were asleep, I sat alone at the kitchen table and wondered if I had failed her somehow. I replayed every argument, every harsh word, every moment I might have missed a sign. Guilt is a heavy thing. But children do not need guilt. They need presence. So each morning, I put on a smile, packed their lunches, tied their shoelaces, and stepped into the role life had handed me. Not out of obligation, but out of love. 15 years passed this way. 15 years of building a life from fractured beginnings. 15 years of creating a home from pieces that were never supposed to fall apart. And then, she came back. But not with flowers. Not with apologies. Not with open arms. She came back with a lawsuit. It was a quiet spring morning when the envelope arrived. The sunlight was gentle, and the house was filled with the soft sounds of breakfast, clinking dishes, laughter, the smell of toast. I opened the mailbox expecting bills, maybe a magazine. Instead, I found a government envelope with my name printed sharply across the front. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A summons. At the top were the words, "Custody and Kidnapping Investigation Petitioner, Laura Ellis. My daughter." The daughter who had not touched the boys in 15 years. My hand began to shake. I felt the porch beneath my feet tilt, as if the world itself had shifted. She was not reaching out because she missed them. She was not returning because she had healed. She was coming back to claim the very children she chose to leave behind. And she was accusing me, the woman who raised them, of kidnapping. I looked through the screen door at the 3 boys inside. Now teenagers. Now young men. Laughing. Living. Safe. A wave of sorrow, anger, love, and fear washed over me at once. This was no longer a story about abandonment. This was a battle for truth. A battle for the children I had devoted my life to. A battle I never wanted but could not walk away from. The war for their future had begun. I spent the rest of that morning trying to steady my breath. I hid the envelope inside the drawer where I kept old birthday cards, school report cards, and tiny handprints from kindergarten art projects. I needed time to think. I needed time to breathe. But life does not always give us the grace to prepare ourselves before reality demands to be faced. Adam found me sitting at the kitchen table, holding a cup of tea that had already gone cold. "Grandma, are you all right?" he asked gently. He had grown into a young man whose voice carried both strength and softness. Sometimes I forgot he was only 21. "Yes," I said too quickly. He sat across from me, studying my face with concern. "You are not," he said quietly. "What happened?" There is a moment in every guardian's life when you must decide whether to protect a child from the truth or trust them to carry it with you. Adam was no longer a child. I handed him the envelope. I watched his eyes move slowly across the paper, and then widen, and then harden. "She is accusing you of kidnapping us?" he whispered. His voice cracked on the last word. Before I could answer, Noah and Jacob entered the kitchen, drawn by the tension in the air. "What is going on?" Jacob asked, worry already forming in his expression. Noah took the paper from Adam's hand and read it silently. His jaw clenched. His shoulders tightened. Jacob read only the title before stepping back as if someone had struck him. "She left us," Jacob whispered. "How could she do this to you? How could she do this to us?" The question echoed in my mind. I opened my arms, and the three of them came to me like they had when they were small. I held them, even though they were now taller, stronger, heavier. I held them because love does not shrink when children grow. It expands. "We will get through this," I whispered. But deep down, I did not know how. The next morning, Adam drove me to a modest law office on the other side of town. The building was simple but felt safe in the way old libraries feel safe, filled with quiet assurance that knowledge could be a lifeline. Our lawyer, Ms. Donovan, was a woman with kind but sharp eyes. She listened to everything: the abandonment, the years of silence, the sacrifices, the love, the sudden lawsuit, without interrupting. When I finished, she took a deep breath. "Mrs. Ellis," she said gently, "your case is emotionally clear, but legally complicated. Still, it is winnable." Hope flickered in my chest for the first time since the letter arrived. She explained that Laura would need evidence to support a kidnapping claim, something she did not have. But custody battles were tricky. Judges preferred biological parents unless proven unfit. "Fortunately," Ms. Donovan continued, "your grandsons are old enough to speak for themselves. Their voices will matter." I closed my eyes for a moment. The thought of them testifying broke something inside me. They had already lived through enough. But this was our reality now. 1 week later, she came. Laura appeared on my porch without warning, standing in the exact place she had stood 15 years earlier when she left her sons behind. But this time, she was colder, sharper, defensive. Her eyes flicked past me into the house. "Are the boys home?" "They do not wish to see you right now," I replied softly. She raised an eyebrow. "Well, that is going to have to change." She stepped forward as if she could push her way inside, but I blocked the doorway gently. "Laura," I said, "we need to talk." She crossed her arms tightly. "You took them from me," she said sharply. "You poisoned them against me. And now I am taking them back." I felt my breath leave me. "Laura, you left them. You disappeared without a word. We looked for you. We called hospitals, shelters, friends. You were gone." She looked away, jaw tightening. "I had my reasons." "Reasons for missing birthdays?" "Reasons for missing their first day of school, their graduations, every holiday." She met my eyes then, not with regret but annoyance. "I do not owe you an explanation." The words cut deeper than any knife. "Please," I whispered, "do not do this to them." She leaned in slightly, her voice low and bitter. "I already have." And with that, she turned and walked away. Watching her leave again was a strange kind of déjà vu, except this time, there was no confusion. Only clarity. My daughter was not here to reconnect. She was here to win. The next few weeks were filled with legal meetings and quiet heartbreak. Each of the boys had to give a recorded statement. Watching them testify was like watching them relive the old wounds they had spent years learning to live with. Adam spoke first. He talked about the porch, the car driving away, the long nights spent wondering if he had done something wrong. Noah spoke next. He talked about the emptiness he felt on Mother's Day, about how he cried silently so the others would not hear. Jacob, the youngest, spoke last. He admitted he had no memories of her at all. "She is a stranger," he said quietly. "My grandmother is the only mother I have ever known." Each of them cried. Each of them apologized for crying. And each time, I held them afterward, reminding them that vulnerability is not weakness, it is courage. The day of the hearing arrived like a storm that had been gathering on the horizon for months. The courtroom was cold, not physically, but emotionally.
The walls felt too bare, the silence too sharp.
It was the kind of place where pain was reduced to evidence, and love had to prove itself in legal terms. Laura sat across from us, her arms crossed, her jaw clenched. She did not look at me. She did not look at the boys. She stared straight ahead, unmoved and unmoving. Her lawyer argued that she had left the children temporarily while dealing with personal struggles, and that I had taken advantage of the situation. He tried to make abandonment sound like an unfortunate misunderstanding. When it was my turn to speak, my legs trembled. But when I looked at the boys sitting behind me, their faces full of hope and fear, strength filled my voice. I told the court about the sleepless nights, the school lunches, the bedtime stories, the hospital visits, the homework sessions, the heartbreaks, the victories, the kitchen dances, the family dinners, the years and years of being the only constant in their lives. I did not steal them, I said. I raised them. There was a pause in the room. A silence filled with truth. Then the boys were called to the stand. Jacob went first. He sat up straight, but his hands shook slightly. "Do you know this woman?" the lawyer asked. "She is my biological mother," Jacob said softly, "but she is not my mom."
A gasp rippled through the room.
He continued, voice trembling but unwavering. "My grandmother raised me.
She taught me everything.
She is my family."
Next came Noah.
His voice was quiet, but steady. "I do not hate my mother," he said. "But I do not trust her. She left us. Grandma stayed." Then Adam took the stand. He looked directly at Laura, the woman who had abandoned him as a child and returned only to try to take away the life he had built. "I was 6 when she left," he said calmly. "I waited for her for years. But she never came back. Grandma is the one who raised us. She is our parent. We are not leaving her." Laura's face finally cracked. But instead of tears, there was anger.
Quiet, simmering, bitter anger.
The judge adjourned the hearing for the day. And for the first time since the letter arrived, I felt hope. The final court hearing arrived on a morning that felt strangely quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. A thin layer of fog rested over the courthouse steps, and the sky was a muted shade of gray. The boys walked beside me, taller now, stronger, but their faces carried the weight of 15 years of unanswered questions. We took our seats. Adam rested his hand gently on my shoulder. Noah sat beside me, fingers intertwined nervously. Jacob leaned slightly toward me, as though grounding himself in my presence. Across the courtroom, Laura sat alone. Her shoulders were squared, but her eyes were restless, darting around the room without landing anywhere for long. There was no sadness in her expression, no remorse, only irritation, as if this entire process had been an inconvenience. The judge entered, expression solemn. After reviewing all testimonies, all evidence, and considering the best interests of the children, he began, "This court has reached a decision." My hands tightened around the edges of my scarf. The boys collectively held their breath. In cases where the biological parent has abandoned the children for a significant period of time, the court must determine whether their return serves the stability, safety, and emotional well-being of the minors. Laura smirked. It was small, but noticeable. And whether the current guardian has fulfilled the responsibilities required of a parental figure. A long silence followed. Then the judge spoke the words that changed everything. "The petition for kidnapping is dismissed."
I felt my breath leave me in a rush.
"And full legal guardianship is hereby granted to Margaret Ellis."
The room blurred for a moment. I heard Noah exhale shakily.
Jacob covered his face with both hands as tears streamed down. Adam's shoulders relaxed for the first time in months as he whispered, "We did it." I felt myself collapsing inward with relief, gratitude, and sorrow all at once. Relief because the boys were safe. Gratitude because truth had been heard. Sorrow because it had come to this, a mother suing a grandmother, a daughter turning against her own family. The judge added one final statement. Any future relationship between Laura Ellis and her children must be voluntary and initiated by the children themselves.
The gavel fell. It was over. Outside the courtroom, the boys hugged me tightly.
Adam held me the longest, his voice cracking. You saved us, he said softly. No, I whispered, cupping his cheek.
You saved yourselves.
You stood up for your truth. Noah leaned into my side, tears slipping silently down his face. We are going home, he murmured. Our home. Jacob hugged me from behind, arms wrapped around my waist, head against my back. I was so scared, he confessed. I thought she might win. I kissed the top of his head. You will never have to fear that again. As we turned to leave, a familiar voice called out, Mom. I turned. Laura stood at the bottom of the courthouse steps. Her expression was unreadable, somewhere between anger, disbelief, and something else I could not name. We need to talk, she said.
The boys stiffened.
No, Adam said firmly. We do not. Laura ignored him and looked directly at me. You won, she said. Congratulations. Her voice dripped with bitterness, but underneath it, I heard something hollow, emptiness perhaps, or the echo of choices she wished she had made differently. I did not win, I replied softly. This was not a competition. This was about protecting the boys.
She let out a short, humorless laugh.
They are my sons. They are, I said. But you were not their mother. Her jaw clenched. You always wanted them, she said accusingly. You always wanted to take everything from me.
My heart cracked.
Laura, I whispered, I never wanted to replace you. I wanted you to be their mother. I waited for you to come back.
I prayed for you every night.
She looked away, blinking rapidly. Then why do they hate me? She asked softly, voice breaking for the first time. They do not hate you, I said gently. But they cannot trust someone who disappeared without explanation. She swallowed hard. I had reasons, she murmured. I know, I said. And one day when you are ready, you can tell them. But healing does not begin with lawsuits. It begins with honesty. Laura wiped her eyes quickly, angrily, as if refusing to let tears exist. I will not beg for them, she said. I am not asking you to beg, I replied. I am asking you to heal. She shook her head and stepped away. And then, just like 15 years earlier, she turned around and walked away. Only this time, she did not look back at all. Life after the court case felt lighter, as if a long winter had finally ended and the first signs of spring had begun to bloom. We no longer lived with uncertainty. We no longer lived with the fear of losing what we had built. Adam moved into his own apartment but visited every Sunday for dinner. He often cooked with me, insisting he was learning so he could feed his own children someday. Noah started studying social work. I want to help kids who feel forgotten, he explained. Jacob blossomed with peace he never had before. He laughed more freely, talked more openly, and filled notebooks with poems about family, belonging, and the quiet bravery of choosing love. One evening, Jacob came home with a school assignment, a family tree. He placed it in front of me shyly. It showed Jacob at the bottom. Branches stretched upward and outward.
One branch led to Adam.
One to Noah. One to me. Laura's name was not there. I hesitated. Jacob, I said gently, do you not want to include your mother? He looked at the page for a long moment, then shook his head. She is not part of our story anymore, he said quietly.
Not the real one. I managed a small nod.
Because the truth is, family is not made by biology. Family is made by presence, by love, by choosing to stay. Years passed. Not quickly. Not painlessly. Healing rarely comes suddenly. It comes like sunrise, slowly, gradually, one soft ray at a time. There were moments of sadness, especially for me. Moments when I wondered where Laura had gone, what choices she had made, and whether she lived with regret. Sometimes I dreamed of her as a child again, running barefoot through our yard, laughter echoing against the walls of the home we once shared.
I dreamed of a life where I never lost her.
But when I woke, I always reminded myself. I did not fail her. I simply could not follow her into the darkness she chose.
And I chose love. 3 times over.
If you asked me today whether I would do it all again, the sleepless nights, the financial hardship, the fear of losing them, the heartbreak of my daughter's betrayal, my answer is simple. Yes.
1,000 times, yes.
Because those boys did not just need me. They saved me in ways I never expected. They gave my life purpose. They filled my home with warmth after years of quiet. They turned a story of abandonment into a story of healing. And if there is one message I want you to carry with you after hearing this, it is this. You do not become a parent through blood. You become a parent through love, presence, sacrifice, and staying even when staying breaks you. If you are listening to my story right now, perhaps you are someone who has been abandoned. Or someone who had to become stronger than you ever planned. Or someone who stepped into a role you did not expect, simply because someone else walked away.
Let me tell you something.
You are not weak. You are not second best. You are not just a replacement. You are the anchor someone else held on to. You are the safe place someone returned to.
You are the reason someone survived.
And that makes you extraordinary. If this story touched your heart, I would love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done in my position? Would you have taken in the boys? Would you have fought for them? Share your reflections in the comments. Your voice helps others feel less alone. And if you want more stories like this one, stories of love, courage, healing, and the quiet strength of ordinary people, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter. Thank you for listening.
And wherever you are,
I hope you choose love, even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard.